Hi, I'm Caroline Coben. I'm an independent behavioral consultant in the state of Oregon. Today we'd like to call public attention to dramatic changes that were made to Oregon's healthcare system that affect the intellectual and developmental disability community. The state of Oregon's June 2013 public notice regarding the implementation of the K-Plan stated that none of the upcoming changes would result in a loss of services for consumers. Additionally, it stated they did not anticipate any reduction in compensation for providers. Unfortunately, this has not been the case. A lot of consumers have lost specialized supports, and professional providers are facing significant wage reductions. We want to educate the public on how these changes have affected the developmental disability community, and help the state recognize the ramifications of their policy decisions so we can move forward and fix these issues. We also want you to get involved. We're offering you some streamlined and quick ways to help.
My name is Susan Rosenthal, and I am the parent of a 24-year-old who receives services through a brokerage.
My name is Terry, and my nephew is a consumer of the services that we're talking about today.
My name is Amanda Cagle. This is Carrie. She's my sister.
My name is Michelle Kelleher-Helm, and I am an independent contractor.
My name's Alicia.
Okay. You're Alicia.
No, what's your name?
Oh, Charlene.
What's your name?
Harold.
I am Heather Burnett.
This documentary is about helping people with special needs keep their independence in the programs and services that help them do so.
I'm so glad that you are doing this and have called and asked me to be a part of this. It needs to be brought to light. This goes much finer into like a funnel of who is this really going to affect? Or are we clogging the channels and making it more difficult for our customers to access help?
I'm glad you're bringing light to that, because I think that when I first started in this field, it was so very generic. And, you know, our task analysis were ones we pulled out of a drawer and put the person's name on. It was the same process for whoever we were working with, to really changing into this person-centered planning where we took each person and what they needed and what they wanted, and to see it almost going backwards is disheartening.
I think that's partly why I was happy to be part of this, because I think the nicest spin on it would be that people don't understand exactly the kind of situations that someone like you is being asked to deal with. To expect someone to not use, like you, to not use their best judgment about how to approach something or to take the time that's needed it's really frustrating to me, and I think it's penny wise and pound foolish.
The brokerage system is something that assists people who live in the community independently or with their families.
That's kind of the organization that pays for the services, contracts for the services. My daughter lives on her own, in her own apartment, with a lot of supports, but she does live on her own.
The whole purpose of brokerage services versus the state services was to keep the customer in charge of their supports.
We can make this service fit you and your needs, and as a result of that, he's able to reciprocate and engage in a more constructive way.
Right.
It's problem solving, not crisis driven.
So I call the personal agent, is the caseworker.
Personal agent they put in place because, once again, the system is based in self-determination. As a behavioral consultant, I evaluate a person's natural environment and unite and train their support teams to address behaviors that interfere with the person's ability to maintain access to their community.
You are opening up their eyes to see that they could live their life a different way, in a healthier way. Emotionally, physically, all these things, all these changes that you have the ability to do.
Someone who individualizes an approach for this person. You understand the boundaries, you understand what the need is that the consumer is trying to get met, and may be able to help them do that in a more constructive way. There's a system of recording and documenting symptoms and things like that, and being able to monitor that in a proactive way.
A large part of what my daughter's wish was in hiring you was that you would help iron out some of the areas where she and I bump into each other. So I think she was pretty excited about the idea that there was going to be like a kind of a mediator person, somebody to maybe whip me into shape a bit. She was really happy, and I was like a little apprehensive, but I still thought it would be for the good.
You're kind of like our mediator, I guess.
Since you've been working with her, though, we've gotten along better.
That's good.
Okay, because that takes the pressure off of her and me, and we have gotten along a lot better, and that means a lot.
Okay, so then my daughter has a helper person. That's what I call it, a helper person. And the helper person is called a provider.
I provide support services to people living in the community who have a disability and need extra supports in their day-to-day living.
And when you say support services, what does that mean exactly?
I help with doctor's appointments. I help with a lot of advocacy towards doctor appointments and just community-based programs in general. Help with in-home care, cleaning, sometimes personal care.
Okay. And when you say advocacy, what exactly does that mean in this context?
For the advocacy, a lot of it has to do with making sure that the person I'm serving understands what the person is telling them.
We have many different titles. I use skill trainer because I believe that's what I do. I teach people different skills, and they range from playing bingo and having the ability to go up and say, I would like one packet. So it's just having that extra person there to kind of guide them and give them the reassurance on this is how you can get what you want from the community.
It's really important to distinguish between a domestic employee and a community inclusion specialist. Both are very important jobs. A domestic employee, however, has traditionally been somebody who works in the home and supports somebody on a 24-hour basis with attention to daily living supports. A community inclusion specialist has typically been a professional who has come in and provided skill training and skill building in the community.
Some developmentally disabled people live with their parents, so those family members often take on some of the provider roles.
What we had was a very limited budget for each customer. We had $14,000 a year. They could delegate that to their supported employment program, their community service provider, their behavioral consultant, their additional supports, respite hours. They could choose how to delegate that $14,000, but each person got the same amount. Now what it looks like is the customer has access to almost $80,000 to $100,000, depending on their assessment, for use during the course of a year. However, that support is determined not by what the customer wants to do with it, but what the state has assessed the customer to need. So what we're looking at is basically a top-down Medicaid funding program right now versus the person-centered funding and really flexible less expensive program that we were working with before.
See, I didn't even know till today it was part of the Affordable Care Act. Do you think it's part of the Affordable Care Act?
Oh, no, it is. It's
Oh, it is. Well,
definitely.
see, well, I didn't know that.
Do you understand the changes that are going on right now, like the K plan? Do you have any idea what that is?
No, I don't. Do you have any idea what a K plan is?
No.
Okay.
When they start to cut funds. You know, it has something to do with insurance or something to do with money. That's just my personal opinion.
They make them hard to understand and everything and easy to pass, because if you're confused about it, you're not going to want to vote about it.
Yeah.
If you don't know about it, you're not going to want to say anything about it.
Do you know what that is, and can you describe it? And
Right.
right.
Right. Okay. No, I can't because I'm not exactly sure.
So, you know, it's a little ironic. So she does this all the time, right? You have a master's in social work, right? Mm-hmm. I have a master's in social work. We don't understand it.
Right.
And if we don't understand it, I mean, I don't know how
Right.
anybody's
That's
supposed to
a good
understand
point.
anything.
Things are changing. We're going to do a different way of assessing a person's needs.
It's like a tool that asks you a whole bunch of personal questions to see how you can take care of yourself.
A state employee will walk into somebody like your nephew's house and start asking him if he knows how to wipe, and if he knows how to go to the bathroom himself, and if he can do this. How do you think he would respond to questions like that?
Well, the best case scenario would be that he would shut down. So I think otherwise it might get really not pretty. But I do not believe that strategy for gathering information would be effective and accurate.
I've had personal agents who've only really met the customer once a year sit down and have this discussion with them to gauge their abilities. Nobody likes to admittedly say, you know, that is hard for me.
Once that ANA is completed, the results are used to figure out how many dollars a year are delegated to a person. So if a customer is there that doesn't want to admit that they need help, then, and nobody else is there to support them, then they're going to get help based upon what they report. Do you get paid to be included or asked to be included in the ANA?
No,
Has that been your experience?
No, and I have advocated that I am there and I will be there to free, so then my customers can try and get the best supports.
These changes are getting made in such a fashion that they're all retroactive, and they're happening, they already happened, and then they're going in and changing contracts rather than communicating.
Right, and then they're just saying, no, sorry, you don't get that anymore. Well, why not? Why? What happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that going to affect my customer?
Who makes that decision, or what makes that decision? Is that the state? Is that the Affordable Care Act? Is that just the K plan? Is that the family? Is that the customer?
Certainly isn't the family.
I want that.
I can tell you that.
They need the services. They don't want to give people the services.
Right. Right. So they don't want to let you guys choose your services
Yeah,
anymore.
they want to they want to decide themselves.
I mean, I don't even know who it is. Like, who decides
I was going to ask you
this?
if you know who
No,
these
like,
people are.
yeah, absolutely not.
And when you go to them, like, it took me 3 months to figure out
Who to
I
go
need
to?
to go to through, literally through state reps. And then once I found that out, they can't tell me anything.
In the contract, it says your rate will be this. You have X amount for X amount of hours, and it'll go from this date to this date. They just called me the other day and said, we don't know if we've told you this or not, but your normal rate has just been cut, like a third of it. You either can accept the wage cut, even though you've signed a contract stated that it's good for a year, or you cannot, and that person will lose those supports completely. That's how it was stated to me.
Pretty much everybody who does any kind of support for a customer is now working under the category of a personal support worker. It's discouraging any new people from coming into the field.
Now it's kind of, it seems like it's all under an umbrella, and they call it ADL support 726. So they've kind of lumped everything together, mushed it together.
The community inclusion specialist, or the skills trainer, is basically the arms and legs of the behavioral consultant. Well, a behavioral consultant might see a customer a couple times a month. We spend most of the time working with the support team and the family and interviewing medical professionals, mental health professionals, and other involved parties. The community inclusion specialist spends direct time with the customer. Therefore, it's important that the behavioral consultant and community inclusion specialist are readily able to communicate in order to monitor behaviors, find out how often they're occurring, and for the community inclusion person to ask the behavioral consultant what to do.
If we're going to have a group meeting, it always boiled down to Caroline and I ended up working out, okay, well, I'll bill for the first half and you can bill for the second half. When, you know, and that's kind of, it shouldn't be like that. If we're all working together and these are the supports that are given and we need to be able to openly communicate, it needs to be a level playing field of I am a professional, as Caroline is a professional, as the PA is a professional, and we are working and this is what we do.
You know, I don't get paid, and so I can work with somebody else during that same time that I'm getting paid for and read your notes. I mean, I've never worked in a system that's been like that. There's always training after the behavior support plan is written. But it's also not an incentive for ICs to train, because we aren't paid during that, even though, you know, we need that training. And I mean, I imagine that makes it hard for you to write a plan, because you have to write a plan based off of
minimal information that we're getting, and whether or not somebody's going to volunteer.
And hoping for the best. You're like, here you go, here's a plan. Let's hope it works. So.
If a person has significant behavioral issues and are acting out in the community, well, all they can have is 15 hours of an assessment, 12 hours to write a support plan, and then 18 hours and 6 months of support, and then everything's cut off. The customer, if they would like to request an exception, they have to go through their personal agent at the brokerage and say, I don't agree with this, I want an exception. Well, then they submit all this paperwork to the state. 3 months later, the state comes back and says, no.
Even if the ANA indicates that somebody still has a need for behavioral support, they can't access it again.
Right. I mean, you can't touch on a social sexual support need of behavior and think you're gonna take care of that in 15 hours.
Frankly, it's really a mystery to me what happened, but it seems like something imploded in the whole system, and things that were previously going to be really simple in terms of your hours and in terms of what you could do suddenly became very challenging. It seems like everything is meted out in little tiny increments.
Huge increase in funding towards family members with the intention of increasing caregiving and keeping people in the home.
I think that someone needs to be able to have the options that are the best fit for them. And I think it's wonderful when that best fit is that someone can be with their family and the right kind of care is there. But that isn't the right thing for everyone, and it's not the thing that provides the best quality of relationship for that individual or family for everybody. It means that then the family's put in a position of having to not only deal with the needs of their family member, but having to work harder to navigate the system. That would be incredibly stressful for that client and phenomenally stressful for the family. I mean, speaking personally.
A gal earlier saying that it was breaking her heart to think that there are some, parents who are burnt out and no longer are with, supporting or giving that kind of care and kind of expecting other people to do it.
Without that kind of support, we're going to get into more expensive and, more expensive medical interventions. He would not be able to live independently, and that he would need to be in a living situation that was more a group home or something that was more expensive.
Now, if she didn't have you helping her, then I probably couldn't work.
I think it's outrageous that these kind of changes happen that are so impactful without any of us who might have an opinion knowing. Yeah, and I think also it obviously it makes you try to do your job with your hands tied behind your back. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm still upright, thank goodness. I don't know if I would be without the services that we've gotten, but I think it's very, very sad that people are losing services who don't have someone to advocate for them. Mm-hmm. It's tragic.
For me, I get to know the person.
Okay.
I need to know what they need, what they want,
Okay.
how to work with them.
When I first met you, did you trust me and did you want to talk to me about stuff that was going on? Yeah. So, and it took a little while for us to get to know each other and spend some time together, right?
Yeah, like we went out for coffee and stuff. She said that you were a behavior specialist.
Mm-hmm. And did you understand what that was?
Not really.
Yeah. Was it kind of hard at first though to meet with me?
Yeah, to meet people. I do have a little meeting, talking to people.
I would have had 15 hours to get to know him and 12 hours to work with the family. And do you think in that time that he would have even given me? Yeah.
No, I don't.
So how long did it take you? Did you feel a little bit more comfortable to talk to me? Do you think?
About half a year. Yeah, almost.
Wow. Okay.
So right at that period where you would have gone away,
Yeah.
she was comfortable and like, yeah.
How important how important it would be for you to have a relationship with someone like my daughter. I mean, that
rapport building. With the current system and the way that it's been modeled is that current relationship is no longer valid. We don't build rapport, we just deliver a service.
And that's really bad because like certain people, like when they get to know somebody and everything, like it becomes on a personal level, and then you try to split them off with someone else and everything, and then they're not going to communicate as well as far as what they need and what they don't need, and lose benefits because they can't communicate with this new person, or that's not cool.
Right.
For her to know that she has support makes her want to support herself.
Regardless of all of the different viewpoints that are happening right now, what point you're coming from, if you're a union member, if you're a voc rehab counselor, if you're a community support provider, if you're a behavioral consultant, you're a brokerage, a personal agent, we all need to be able to work as a team. As a member of our community, you have the ability to impact this world and its people. Please like and share our Facebook page and help spread visibility. Tell people about this documentary and talk about it with them. Fill out our form letter specifying how these changes have affected you or people you care about and submit it to the state. You can find more information and ways to help on our website, www.oregonkplandocumentary.com.
What do you do? at an animal shelter.
Yeah. At the Multnomah County Animal Shelter, right?
Yeah.
And what do you do?
Help with dogs.
I work at Exceed Enterprises in Milwaukee, and we put labels on bags.
Oh, that's awesome. So that anybody could pick up that book and kind of know what's going on.
Disabilities.
Or disabilities, sure.
I have disability.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Some people don't. Some people
No, I think we all do. We've all got. So we're gonna take a break.
Oh, cool. I like to take a break.